Why do you think Shakespeare is still so resonant to us today? Why is he still important?
Because he has a way of saying things that has never been bettered. He's got a way of getting to the nub of what it is to be a human being. And he says it better than anyone has done since, I think.
To be or not to be? That is the question.
Monologues are such powerful moments in a Shakespeare play. Hamlet's to be or not to be monologue being one of the most popular. In a play, a monologue makes sense. The actor is able to look out on the audience and speak and say what he's thinking. Monologues aren't conversations with any other character, but they're speeches. Speeches coming from the innermost thoughts of this character. While yes, monologues can be speeches to large crowds, such as St. Crispin's speech in Henry IV, the most powerful are the ones that are the desperate cries of a character, the inner thoughts of the depraved soul. Almost like a prayer to someone, to God, to anyone that may listen. However, in film...
And by opposing, end them. To die. To sleep.
Why switch to voiceover mid-monologue? This is a monologue. All of the words are his thoughts. This awkward switch to voiceover just causes confusion and makes the audience uncomfortable. Now, I shouldn't be too critical. This is one of the first attempts to adapt Shakespeare into film. This movie is so old Gandhi was still alive. But since this film, over 60 variations of Hamlet has been made, all with different forms of the to be or not to be monologue. Mel Gibson prances around a tomb. David Tennant gets uncomfortably close to a wall. Even Kenneth Branagh speaks to himself in a mirror. All great attempts. Ultimately, they fall short in giving the same feelings as the monologues performed on the stage. It feels a bit awkward because this isn't a normal human behavior. We don't pontificate like this out loud. There's this break in our suspension of disbelief because this isn't the type of delivery we're used to in a film. These monologues are only found in Shakespeare films. However, in my opinion, the best monologue scene is by Kenneth Branagh, but it is not his Hamlet, but his portrayal of Iago that does the most justice to the monologue.
Even as her appetite shall play the god with his weak function, how am I then a villain to counsel Cassio to this parallel course directed to his good?
Breaking the fourth wall has been a part of film for some time. Thus, the audience understands this use, much like an audience understands that monologues are found in plays. The suspension of disbelief stays intact with the fourth wall narration. It's been seen in many critically acclaimed films, such as Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Incredible. One of the worst performances of my career, and they never doubted it for a second.
Or even Fight Club.
Not the car you drive. Not the contents of your wallet.
While the fourth wall break is a great tool for the monologue in this scene, if one does not understand why they need it in this scene, it can become problematic.
Elephants at the watering hole, I always think. Come on.
In this modern variation of Othello, the filmmaker attempts to copy Kenneth Branagh's Iago, but doesn't fully understand why he's using the camera this way. Instead of merely breaking the fourth wall and looking out into the audience, Iago practically picks up the camera, forces you to move and become a part of the scene. This would work if it was a consistent thing, but it doesn't quite work in this film because we're not always this camera character. At times we're just an omnipotent figure in the background, and we're constantly wondering, who am I right now? These aren't purposeful questions, but these are questions that are unintended, and they pull the viewer out of the immersion of the film. In the end, there's never a blanket answer to how to solve any specific problem in film, especially with this monologue. It's been done so many times, maybe Maybe you disagree. Maybe you see Kenneth Branagh's purest vision of the Hamlet as the best. But that is one of the most beautiful things about Shakespeare, about film, about art as a whole. We are always inventing new adaptations, stealing, converting, changing, and remixing. What's the right answer? Who knows? In the end, this is just one man's opinion.